Right now, on to the point. Fallout from President Trump's speech to a divided Congress. Tonight, reaction from local Congress members. Plus, federal buildings for sale.
This one on Capitol Mall in Sacramento could hit the market. It's one of 6 in our area.
A death row inmate scheduled for execution by firing squad. What led to this unusual choice, the first in 15 years? And tonight we visit the City of Refuge, helping women overcome difficult situations.
It's just been a blessing. It's been a place where I could restore my peace of mind.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. The fallout continues tonight from President Trump's speech to a joint session of Congress. The 100-minute-long speech was the longest speech to Congress in history, and some are saying the most polarizing, too.
People elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it.
Trump was greeted with rousing cheers from Republicans and ruckus jeers from Democrats. Democratic lawmakers repeatedly interrupting, claiming many of his remarks were false. Just 4 minutes in, Texas Democrat Al Green heckled the president, shaking his cane at him.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House.
It's the first time that's ever happened. The president taunted his opponents, highlighting his policies with many false allegations and claims, at the same time saying this.
I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do.
House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries reacting to the speech.
So that was one of the most partisan and divisive speeches ever delivered by an American president.
The president spent little time talking about the economy, the same day he imposed sweeping 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico.
There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much.
Michigan Senator Elisa Slotkin gave the Democratic response, saying the president has no credible strategy to fight inflation.
So, do his plans actually help Americans get ahead? Not even close. President Trump is trying to deliver an unprecedented giveaway to his billionaire friends.
Now, following President Trump's address last night, our local congressional members are now reacting to some of the things that were said. Democratic Congressman Ami Bera tells ABC 10 that he decided last minute to actually not go to the address, instead choosing to watch it on TV. Bera says that he disagreed with how some of his Democratic colleagues reacted during the address, but believes Trump's address only created further division without any signs of bipartisanship. While he agrees with trying to cut waste, Bera says some of President Trump's claims were far from true, especially surrounding Social Security spending.
I don't think we're writing Social Security checks to 300-year-olds. I mean, that was disproven by many of the media outlets that were fact-checking. That said, can we improve Social Security? Should we work together in a bipartisan way to strengthen it and make sure it's there for our kids and grandkids? 100%.
And we also spoke to Republican Congressman Doug LaMoffa. He tells ABC 10 that he believes inflation is tied to energy costs and wasteful government spending. He believes tariffs will ultimately benefit the U.S. with more American-made products that will alleviate the cost for Americans. And cameras caught this moment that you're looking at right now. LaMoffa shook Trump's hand, asking him a question, with Trump responding, quote, "I'll do it, just give me the information." LaMoffa shared with ABC 10 what he asked the president.
Northern California water and the needs we have to address storage and also the removal of more dams.
And both congressmen say they have faith in continuing to work together productively between both parties. Now, one day after President Trump imposed new tariffs on Mexico and Canada, a reprieve was announced for the auto industry. So the Trump administration today granted automakers a 1-month exemption from the tariffs after a request from the big 3 U.S. automakers, Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis. The White House says the president is giving them a 1-month exemption so that they're not at an economic disadvantage. The Trump administration's move has also triggered retaliatory tariffs from U.S. trade partners. Canada, in particular, has announced 25% tariffs on U.S. goods, including California's agricultural products like wine. Quebec and Ontario province have ordered U.S. liquors be removed from shelves altogether.
As a producer, it's hard. We don't want to see our wine come off the shelf. This is hopefully something that's short term and we get through it and then we can get back to business.
Canada is the single most important export market for U.S. wines, according to the Wine Institute, with retail sales of $1.1 billion annually. The Trump administration is looking to sell off hundreds of federal buildings and facilities all over the nation to cut some costs, and 6 of them are right here in the Sacramento area. ABC 10's Becca Habegger shows us which buildings could hit the market and also asks what this could mean for our local economy, too.
On Tuesday, the U.S. General Services Administration, or GSA, dropped a surprising list of more than 400 federal buildings and facilities across the country, calling them not core to government operations or non-core properties. An accompanying news release from the GSA said it plans to dispose of non-core assets to ensure taxpayers no longer pay for empty and underutilized federal office space or the significant maintenance costs associated with long-term building ownership, potentially saving more than $430 million in annual operating costs. On Wednesday, the list of properties had been removed from the GSA's website, now saying coming soon. But we can see the original list using the Internet Archive site, The Wayback Machine. On it are 6 properties in Sacramento: the John E. Moss Federal Building at 650 Capitol Mall, the Federal Building at 801 I Street, adjacent to Sacramento City Hall and across from Cesar Chavez Park, out in Arden Arcade, the Federal Building at 2800 Cottage Way, and 3 others whose locations are not specified, listed as Child Care Center, Federal Building Shop, and GSA Modular Building. We asked GSA how many employees work in each building, but did not hear back by deadline.
News that this federal building on Capitol Mall, as well as the one on I Street, could go up for sale, possibly displacing those employees, comes as Governor Gavin Newsom is trying to bring more workers back to the downtown urban core.
As ABC 10 reported, on Monday, Newsom issued an executive order requiring most state employees to return to in-person work 4 days a week starting July 1st. One reason Newsom made this decision was to inject more life and money into downtown Sacramento, as businesses have been struggling since the pandemic sent state workers home. So what kind of an impact could selling these federal buildings have on the local economy? ABC 10 asked the Downtown Sacramento Partnership and City of Sacramento, both of which declined to comment.
And I want to go ahead and bring in Becca Habegger. She has been following this story for us, and we know that some federal properties, of course, will also not be sold, right?
Yeah, the GSA's news release said very explicitly buildings and facilities such as federal courthouses, land ports of entry, and other properties critical to national defense and law enforcement will not be sold. Now, Alex, altogether, the list published yesterday shows 16 federal properties in California, 6 here in the Sacramento area, 3 in the Bay Area, and the rest in Southern California. Now, we asked the GSA if many more properties will be added and when they anticipate putting these buildings on the market. They did not respond to our request today, Alex.
All right, Becca, thank you for bringing this update. We appreciate it. All right, the Senate Agriculture and Health Committees met today to discuss the state's response to bird flu and what can be done next. There's still no evidence of human-to-human spread, and there's been no animal-to-human cases since mid-January. But a state veterinarian says the state needs to increase biosecurity, continue testing, and also look at vaccine development because the virus can mutate.
So if vaccine works and it's approved, that's definitely something that we'd like to look at for dairy cows. There's a lot of things we don't know if that's the path forward at this point, but it's something we want to keep on the radar. Poultry, the way we reduce the virus load is rapid euthanasia, so that will probably have to continue, or unless there's a vaccine for them.
The state looks at U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins' announcement last week providing $1 billion to fight bird flu in the U.S., $500 million to biosecurity, $400 million in financial relief to farmers, and $100 million for vaccine research. Next, on to the point, Los Angeles County still recovering from January's wildfires. Now a lawsuit aimed at the utility blamed for starting the deadly blaze.
And it's been quite the active weather day across Northern California. Rain and thunderstorms in the valley, snow in the high country, travel delays. I'm talking about all that coming up after the break.
A condemned man facing capital punishment and choosing an unusual method for execution. Welcome back in. Los Angeles County announced today that it is suing California Edison. The county alleges the utilities equipment sparked January's Eaton fire, which destroyed more than 9,000 structures and killed 17 people in the Altadena area. The lawsuit seeks to recover costs and damages sustained from the fire. The spokesperson from the utility says Edison is reviewing the lawsuit and will address it through appropriate legal process. All right, let's go ahead and bring in Brendan to get a look of our local weather here. We know that some things are changing. You're tracking a weather impact for snow in the Sierra, it sounds like.
Yeah, we had it today. It continues for tomorrow, and it has really been an impactful day in the high country. We'll start with some cameras. Live looks over Interstate 80 at Donner Summit, the old ag station, and Whitmore Grade. And there's chain controls across Interstate 80, and you also see traffic is stopped here. This is a live image. It's not still. You can see traffic not moving whatsoever at the old ag station. It's being held because of crashes and spinouts higher up the mountain. In fact, it's not only being held at Truckee, it's being held at the Nevada state line as well. 80 is a mess. I wouldn't travel 80 if you absolutely have to go up across the high country right now. 50 is going to be your best bet at the moment. That being said, snow is going to continue through the overnight hours, so roads are likely to get even worse. It's been a good storm, especially down for Southern California. LA has seen some rain. San Diego's getting some rain. The Southern Valley's getting rain, and we've had thunderstorms up in the Sacramento Valley. In fact, we've still got one out there right now, moving just to the north of Highway 20 and headed towards the southeast towards Yuba City and Highway 70. Frequent lightning, 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and pea-sized hail, along with heavy rain, all associated with the storm at the moment. So if you're in Yuba City, go ahead and head indoors. In Sacramento, over the next few hours, going to continue to see mostly clear skies, a few clouds out there. Clouds and showers build back in for Thursday morning, starting off tomorrow morning in those low 40s across the valley. You see snow through the overnight hours, rain and clouds building back in through the overnight. These are just going to be showers, nothing too heavy overnight, but the system continues tomorrow, and we'll have another opportunity for some valley thunderstorms. We had them today in the Sacramento Valley, and tomorrow the opportunity is going to be across the rest of the valley, out across the coastal range and the coast as well. In the high country, that weather impact alert continues for the heavy snow and more travel issues, but this weekend's looking pretty good, mid to upper 60s, maybe even 70 on Sunday, Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. On the other side of the break, the arrest made in the 2021 suicide bombing in Afghanistan, the local service member that was killed, and a man on death row with an unusual request for how he wants to die, the method not used in years. A key suspect in 3 major terror attacks is in custody today. Those attacks include a 2021 bombing in Afghanistan that killed 13 U.S. military members and 150 Afghan civilians. President Donald Trump announced the arrest in his address to Congress just last night.
I am pleased to announce that we have just apprehended the top terrorist responsible for that atrocity, and he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice.
Mohammed Sharifullah arrived on U.S. soil and was met by the FBI director and U.S. Attorney General. Pakistan authorities arrested him last month after sources in the CIA developed information about him. He's charged with unlawfully conspiring to provide material support to a terror organization, resulting in death. And 23-year-old Marine Sergeant Nicole G. of Roseville was one of those service members killed in that 2021 suicide bombing. She was helping people evacuate Afghanistan during the U.S. withdrawal. Since her death, the Roseville community continues to honor G. There is a proposal to rename a portion of Interstate 80 from Douglas Boulevard to Highway 65 after her. For the first time in 15 years, someone is scheduled to be executed by firing squad in the United States. It's happening in Columbia, South Carolina on Friday. Inmate Brad Sigmund will be fired upon by 3 correctional officers. Sigmund was convicted of killing his ex-girlfriend's parents back in 2001. He chose to die by this method over the electric chair and lethal injection. Right now, there are 5 states, Idaho, Mississippi, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Utah, that authorize the use of firing squads. We know that since 1608, at least 144 prisoners have been executed by shooting in the United States. Only 3 have happened since 1977, when the use of capital punishment resumed after a 10-year pause.
There's been a reevaluation of the firing squad as a possible method of execution, primarily because lethal injection has only gotten worse over the decades. Lethal injection was first used in 1982. It's always been a problematic method of execution, and but it's simply gotten worse.
Reporters, family members of Sigmund's victims, and his lawyer will be able to view the execution through a bulletproof glass. During a trial in 2022, South Carolina's Supreme Court ruled the firing squad, electric chair, and lethal injection were all legal and didn't violate the U.S. Constitution's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. Coming up onto the point, a look at a nonprofit changing lives by helping women find their strength during difficult times. Tonight, we are featuring a home and support network for women as they overcome some difficult situations and thrive. City of Refuge is more than a shelter. As ABC 10's anchor Laura Painter shows us, it is changing lives in Oak Park, one family, one woman at a time.
It's more so been a home for me and my son. It's all that we've known for this whole year.
For Marianne Williams, finding a safe place to land has been full of challenges. But she's found comfort, encouragement, and community at City of Refuge, a nonprofit in Oak Park.
It's been a foundation for me. It's been a place where I could have refuge, a safe place. It's just been a blessing. It's been a place where I could restore my peace of mind.
Marianne is one of the many women who found their footing and their strength at City of Refuge. Founded by husband-wife duo Rochelle and Lauren Ditmore, the organization seeks to return dignity, restore lives, and rebuild community.
My grandpa was a prison chaplain. I actually was the baby of someone who was incarcerated. And it's so interesting how our histories and our life's journeys take us on roads like unexpected.
Rochelle's life journey led to more than 2 decades of service in marginalized communities. She says City of Refuge has housed more than 700 women and children in the last 15 years. Seeing people for who they are, as human, not a checkbox, is key to Rochelle's compassionate approach.
Do you think seeing the person versus a category has made all the difference?
Absolutely. I don't see someone who sits in our rocking chair as unhoused. I see them as my neighbor.
Return, restore, rebuild. These are the 3 pillars of City of Refuge. Their model includes 2 phases. First is refuge housing that provides immediate relief and emergency shelter. And second is restorative housing, which focuses on leadership development, growth, and mentorship.
I want to live my life in such a way that continues to create simply an invitation and a road back home, because I think a road back home and a place of belonging is what we're all looking for.
And that's what City of Refuge has been for me, a place where you could bloom and blossom and plant into where you don't feel buried. Yeah, because it's a lot of darkness out there. It really is. And some of us don't have those tools that we're supposed to have.
Their front porch and their community center are places to gather, build friendships, and bond neighbors. They also offer dance and art classes to allow children to play and be creative.
When things are difficult and there's challenges, how do you overcome them, and how do you help the women overcome them as well?
Absolutely. I mean, number one, my faith. I just think it's so important that we have something that we believe in that's more than ourselves.
Rochelle says part of creating a welcoming space at City of Refuge is the space itself.
We don't have dirty couches, we don't have dirty walls, the way that it smells, the abundance of food, the farmhouse table, the colors in which we choose, and yet we can get a call at 2 a.m. and someone is welcome to come into our home.
Rochelle says they've responded to calls from women, including those who've escaped trafficking, survived domestic violence, or were living on the streets. No questions asked.
Because most programs out there, it's a whole lot of proving that you're homeless. You got to prove you're homeless. You have to prove I don't have any money. You have to prove all this and that. Well, I'm human. I need help. I want change. That's all I want. But I have to put that on paper. I have to go through all these loopholes just to do that. Here, I didn't have to do that. I just had to be a person who wanted better for me and my son.
Marianne tells me she now has permanent housing. She's moving into her own apartment soon.
I'll never be afraid of the struggle, because when you show your vulnerability and openness, you don't know what doors it can open.
All right, bringing in Laura Painter now. Can you talk about where they get their funding, and also, how can people help if they want to?
Yeah, they tell me that their funding comes from public donations and grants,
And if you'd like to help, you can volunteer and donate by going to their website, cityofrefugesac.com.
Yeah, and if you do want to learn more about them, make sure you go to our website. You can also learn more about the resources they have too. Laura, thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, let's talk about what we're working on for tomorrow too. For over a year now, ABC 10's investigative team has uncovered disturbing allegations against Sequest, a for-profit interactive aquarium chain accused of putting profits over animal welfare. Well, now a California lawmaker is pushing for a change. A new bill, AB 892 by Assemblymember Nick Schultz, would ban direct contact between the public and certain wild animals, citing concerns over animal mistreatment and safety. We know that supporters say Sequest is an example of why stronger laws are needed.
Reading about what was happening at Sequest and elsewhere, I really felt motivated that I could carry this bill, even with a robust package, and hopefully do some good. If a human being were treated under those conditions, we would call that cruel and unusual punishment.
All right, coming up at 6:30 on To the Point, we're going to be taking a closer look at this bill and explain why some animals won't be covered under the proposed law. So make sure you stay with us for that tomorrow. Have a good night. We'll see you right back here.